Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Hope you are having a great time at RubyConf with some fabulous talks. This is our first time in US, so at least we are enjoying a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you. So the topic of our today's talk is BioRuby, understanding the intricacies of life using Ruby.
So any thoughts came to your mind when you first seen this topic or heard about it? Yep.
Game of life.
The game of life. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. The game of life. Great. Anything else?
Okay, let's see as we move on this topic. So, Doyle, would you mind if you were to reborn as a mouse?
No. Not
Okay,
as a mouse.
maybe as a cat or a monkey?
No.
Okay, so forget the rebirth. Let me tell you that we all are like 75% similar to a mouse.
We all look like mouse? Oh my god.
Okay, so you don't need to look like a mouse to be similar to a mouse. All right, so let's see how the similarity is being shown.
Okay, enough of fun making of myself. Okay, who all are taking part in RubyCon 5K tomorrow?
Okay.
I know a person here, probably one who will be taking part.
Okay, I'll be definitely there tomorrow. Okay, have you ever wondered whether Usain Bolt was a born sprinter or Michael Phelps was born to perform at lightning speed in the pool? Scientists have recently found out that there's something special and common in all the athletes that are performing at top class level. And what is that special thing that they have all in common?
So the special element, which is also present in all of us, is nothing but the gene. So let us find out that what is gene and where it's present. So gene is a blueprint of our body. We get half of our gene from our father and half from our mother. And where are these genes present? So they are present in each and every cell of our body. Okay, so here we see all the cells which are present. And within the cell, each of the cell is having a circular shaped structure called a nucleus. And within each of the nucleus, we have these X-shaped structures called chromosomes, within which we have the bundled DNA or the genes. So sometimes we'll be using the term gene and sometimes the DNA. So they are interchangeably used loosely. So long stretches of DNA having a definite function is called a gene. So we have around 75 to 100 trillions of cells in our body, together with our cells and the several bacteria and viruses which live together with us. And there are 46 chromosomes in each of the cells, 23 from our father and 23 from our mother. And as of now, it has been identified as 20,500 functional genes which are present in our body. Okay, so let us look deep into the DNA.
Okay, so DNA. I'm sure you all must be aware something or other about DNA. So I'll just briefly touch. So DNA is a double-stranded biological molecule with bases A, T, G, and C. So the basic rule is like A pairs with T and G pairs with C. So in one strand, if we have A corresponding position in the other strand, we'll have T, and if we have G in one strand, the corresponding position will have C. So that was just the basic rule. So I guess you guys already seem a little bored. So let me do a quick wake-up exercise. So this is a DNA sequence, and can you spot any errors in it according to rule that I just mentioned? Okay, 1, 2. Okay.
Great.
So these were the bases that shouldn't have been there in the DNA sequence. Right, I'm sure this was just 10 to 12 lines of the sequence, but you'll be surprised to know that in real time, what is the magnitude of a DNA sequence. So this is an actual DNA sequence. So you can see that it's 46 lakhs, 4 to 5 million of bases in a single DNA sequence. So just imagine the amount of data that we are talking about, like if we need to store this DNA sequence somewhere, so how much this single DNA sequence, and you know that we have plenty of DNA, so to store all, so it requires a lot of data. And there are 3 billion base pairs in a genome.
So it is present in all of us? All the
no,
people
it's
who are
just
present?
a single genome that has 3 billion of base pairs.
Okay, only one person is having 3 billions of base
3
pairs.
billions of base pairs, that's right.
That's great.
So, okay, so we have learned few concepts. Let's see how BioRuby leverages that.
So basically, today's intention of the talk is not about only about increasing the Ruby skills. It is how BioRuby is being used in a different field, in a non-IT field like biological field, and it is helping out the bioinformaticians. And so this is the talk about
something which we can be very proud of, that Ruby is being used in this field as well.
So as Lauren was saying in the morning, Ruby is being used as a scientific tool in this BioRuby.
Okay, so this is a structure of BioRuby. To install BioRuby, we just need to do a gem install bio. It will install this, and as you can see that it has a bio folder. Inside it, it has a DB folder. So there are various databases that contain biological data that are spread all across the world. So we have some famous EMBL, FASTA, GeneBank, KEGG. These are famous biological data that have that are spread all across the world. So BioRuby has the support for these databases in its core library. Right, so this is the structure of BioRuby. So next we'll look upon trying to create a sequence. So we learned what is a DNA sequence. So here we'll try and create a sample DNA sequence. So how it is created, it is sequence equal to bio and then sequence.
So BioRuby has different classes for DNA, RNA, amino acids, so the different biological molecules. And the different methods which are normally executed within our system are then defined within the BioRuby. So it is actually a string, if you can just see it within the double quotes. So what is a sequence in a DNA sequence? So Ruby doesn't understand what is a DNA or RNA, right? So it is understanding what is the string. So whatever is a sequence in BioRuby is just a string in Ruby. Only the difference is the first position of a string is normally 0, which we know, but in BioRuby it is 1. So to keep in parity with the biological world, it is starting with the 1 as the first position.
And what all operations you can perform on string in Ruby, you can perform those on a DNA sequence. So next function we'll see is the composition. So now, as we just saw that a DNA sequence is made up of bases, and you can see that the sequence we took was AT, GC, AT, GC, AAA. So there were 5 A's, 2 T, 2 G's, and 2 C. So it gives, just the function gives the composition, that is how many bases, each bases are present in that sequence. Just imagine in real time, the sequence is not this, but what we saw some time back, so 4 to 5 billion bases. So next function that we'll see is complement. So this is a very frequently used function. So what is a complement? So we learned that DNA is a double-stranded structure. So very often it is like in one strand, the sequence, biologists know what is the sequence of the bases in one strand, and they need to find the sequence in the other strand. So this complement gives the answer. So how it is, we know that A pairs with T, and as you can see in the original sequence, the sequence ends with a triple A, and A pairs with T, so we have triple T. And I forgot to mention that these complements are being calculated in reverse order. So the end part of that will be the first in this. So A pairs with T, and the fourth last we have C, C pairs with G, so we have fourth G here. So this is the complement function that is very often used in BioRuby. Let us try and create a new sequence. And in this sequence, what we'll do is we'll intentionally creep in few errors. Like you might have noticed already, I think it's been cut off. Okay, so we have R, V, so these are bases that shouldn't be there, right? So what is the solution to find these bases that shouldn't have been there? So we have a simple function called illegal bases, and it returns the illegal bases that that are erroneously entered into the DNA sequence. So this is how BioRuby is making life simpler for the biologist.
Okay. So any questions? No, normally, no. Wrong. If we do it manually, then it can go, but otherwise it is not. Okay, any other questions? Okay. So we know about the DNA sequences and what is the DNA and all. So DNA is actually the blueprint, which we knew, but the actual functions are not performed by the DNA. They are performed by something called the proteins. So the proteins tells us what to do, whether I will shake my hand or whether I'll smile, I'll cry. So these are the functions, all these are performed by the proteins. And amino acids are the building blocks of proteins. So how is a DNA sequence mapped to a protein? So we know about the sequences, A, T, G, C, the bases. So the way these bases are arranged determines which amino acid will be formed. So if 3 persons are sitting side by side, so if A, B, and C is sitting, so the way A, B, C or C, A, B will sit determines which amino acid will be formed. For example, for the first one, we are seeing that double TC will form one of the amino acids, phenylalanine, while C double T will form another of the amino acids. So they are not the same. And these 3 bases is called a codon because it codes for a definite amino acid. So in order to better explain it, we need 3 volunteers from the audience. Any 3 people? Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. What's your name?
Jerry.
Jerry. We have Jerry.
Murad.
Moran.
So this is for you
John.
to wear.
John. Okay.
T. You can say T.
Yep.
All right.
And G. Thank you. And can I wear?
Oh.
You are special.
You guys don't know what you're getting into.
Chill, chill, chill. All right.
Yeah, right.
Wearing one. So when the DNA gets copied, that is when the cell is getting manufactured, then this DNA gets copied. And I'll say just copy 1, then we'll just get a step forward. Okay? Okay. Copy 1. You can just come a step forward.
So this is first copy of the DNA that is being produced. When we are being manufactured, so DNA gets replicated. So supposing this is the first copy of DNA, so ATG get replicated correctly. And it is very possible, that during replications, errors might creep in. So supposing during the second copy, we take step 2, and I think we don't have space, we'll put in the step 2 error only. Okay. Okay, that's better. So step 2, copy 2 was also fine, but maybe during copy 3, what we do is, comment. So during copy 3, erroneously what happened is T converted to a C. So what we saw is the sequence is ACG, but not ATG. So what we learned is ATG was forming methionine, but ACG is forming methionine.
So it's a completely different amino acid which has been formed, and this actually goes on within the biological world. So we can have a great round of applause for all these volunteers. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll help you.
I think
Thank you so much.
Just a sec. There we go.
Okay, so these single base pair replacement is what is known as SNPs, single nucleotide polymorphisms. And these kind of changes is what makes us unique. So we are 99.99% similar. All of our genomes are similar. But this one genome, while replication, one sequence replacement can make us a tall person or a short person.
Right.
But it can make us someone having a blonde, brown, or a black hair. So these kind of differences creeps in due to these SNPs in all of us. Okay, let us see now how BioRuby is helping with these things. So we are creating a DNA sequence like before with all these ATGC base pairs. And then we call the translate method. So translation is actually the method name which forms the amino acid from these DNA bases. So when we call on the translate method, it actually shows us that which amino acids are formed. So 3 bases are required to form one amino acid. So ATG is forming methionine, the CAT is forming histidine, and likewise. And when we call the dot names method, we actually get the names. Otherwise, it's a short name. And then we can call the codes method, which is just a 3-letter code for these names. Now, as we can find out from a string, we can find out the molecular weight of these amino acids itself. So all these molecular weight of all the amino acids combined together. And for a string, as we can perform the subsequence method for a string. Similarly, if we like to analyze a part of DNA, not the entire one, we can just call the subsequence method on that DNA sequence. So 4, 6 gives me that from the 4th position to the 6th position, whatever be the DNA sequence, give me the output, and probably I'll analyze over it. Okay, any questions till now regarding amino acid proteins and how BioRuby is interacting? Okay.
What are the advantages by using BioRuby versus LanguageIR and Bioconductor?
Okay, so BioRuby has an advantage of accessing the different files. So that mainly the biological files are in the flat file format. So BioRuby gives access to that. Another advantage is the biogems, which we'll be covering later. So we have the gems in Ruby. So they have also come up with the biogems concept. That is, we have modular approaches, and we can interact with the different databases which are also not supported by the BioRuby core library, but they are developed as a gem. So we can come up with the gems. Biogems is a very growing community, and it adds up to the BioRuby library itself. Okay. So how BioRuby is interacting with bioinformatics. So whatever we know now is bioinformatics. So however the biological data is being used by the information technology, how it is stored, retrieved, analyzed, everything is bioinformatics. But the major role of bioinformatics came into vogue after the Human Genome Project. So Human Genome Project was a milestone. So it says that how the entire DNA sequences is arranged in our body, in the entire genome. Genome is the entire sequence of all the genes in human beings. So it told us that there are 3 billion base pairs in each of us, how they're arranged. It told us that around 3 GB of data is stored in each cell, and there are around 75 to 100 trillions of cells. So it has been mapped, and it was a joint venture of different labs around the world, and it was completed around 2003. And after that, the role of bioinformatics was huge. So it is not only the genomic sequence, that is the ATGC, it is about the different amino acids which are produced, different proteins which can go wrong, which can make a person diabetic, have more prone to cancer. So all these things are getting added in human genome database day by day. So it is a huge database which has to be maintained. So BioRuby was formed in the year 2000, and in the same place as Ruby was developed in Japan. And the first version was published in 2001. And we have the latest version as of now as 1.4.3. In the last May, it has been published. Okay, so as a bioinformatics tools, there are several tools which are present, which will make us understand that how we are similar to a mouse or a rat. So something, a very important tool is BLAST. That is not a bomb blast, but an acronym of Basic Local Alignment Search Tool. So it tells us that how two sequences are similar or how two organisms are similar to each other. So first we can see here that there is one like the query. Query is a sequence which we are giving probably the rat sample protein, which is the example here. And the subject is we are comparing it, the rat sample protein, with a human amino acid sequence. So this 70 is the position of that rat sample protein in the DNA sequence. So if we get exactly the same amino acid present, then we replace it in the middle, in the second line as the name of the amino acid. But if they are related, like leucine and valine, L and V, we give a plus sign, which means positive. And if they are nowhere related, like a histidine and isoleucine in these two, we just leave it as a blank or a gap. So the way this BLAST or the algorithm is calculated is combining these three things. So this is called the identity, the percentage of the exact position of the amino acid which are present. It can be also be a DNA sequence. So 100 by 179, so it comes around 55% in this case. This is a gap. It came around 1, so we can just neglect it. 0%, and this is a positive, so they are similar, but they are not exactly the same. So this is a typical BLAST output which we can get from the NCBI website. Similarly, if you can perform this using the BioRuby tool. So let us find out how. Okay. So what we are doing here is we are creating a BLAST object. So the creation of the BLAST object is we are connecting to a remote BLAST database, so BLAST P, and we are performing the BLAST P. So P stands for protein. So as we are finding out the similarity between different amino acids or proteins, it is a BLAST P. Otherwise, we'll do a BLAST N or T BLAST N for nucleic acids or DNA sequences. We are connecting to SwissProt database. There's a database name. E is the expect value, that is what the number of times we can expect it to get the match. So lesser is the expect value, lesser is our discrepancy of finding a false positive result. And then is the name of the database. GenomeNet is the name of the database of the human genome, which we are comparing it with. So we have given an example of a rat sample protein, that is biosequence AA. AA stands for amino acid, and then the amino acid sequence. And then we are performing the BLAST. So this is a remote BLAST which we are doing. Similarly, we can also do a local BLAST by installing the BLAST tool in our machine and then performing the same thing. So when we just execute this Ruby file and put it in a BLAST output text result, we will show that we will be getting similar result as we got from the NCBI website itself, that how these two sequences are similar to each other. So we get an expected value of 5.7 e to the power 10 to the power minus 3. Identity is a percentage that these two amino acids will be positioned at the same position. So 179 is a percent when a rat protein is positioned at the same position as we are. And then the length of the overlapping regions and some details about the human protein, the gene which is coding that protein. So we have several of these hits or the regions which are similar. So we are actually similar to rats or mouses.
Okay, so next topic is biogems. So like we all know that in Ruby we have Ruby gems, and in BioRuby we have biogems. So all the gems that are made for BioRuby are automatically listed on this website, biogems.info. They start with bio, and we mentioned that biogems is a fabulous concept that they've introduced. So it gives a modular approach. So there are plenty of databases all across the world that have genomic data. So but BioRuby core library has only support for few of them. So this is biogems is how it helps out in overcoming that. So it provides us supposing we need to connect to a database which does not have support, and we can create a biogem for that, and at the same time it won't affect the core library of BioRuby. So we'll see one such biogem that is called BioUCSC API, and it will connect to a famous database called UCSC database. So as you can see that we have that has plenty of databases, G18, G19, SNP 130 is a table in that, and of course it is based on famous active record framework. So we do not have to write bulky queries, it's just a finder method that we write. All right, so let's try and connect to it. So we enter the BioRuby shell. So we just type in the BioRuby, we enter the BioRuby shell. Okay, so we do the first require BioUCSC, it would require gem, and we would try to connect to a specific database in the UCSC, that is HG18. So okay, so we have the connection now, it is connected to HG18, and what we'll try to do now is we'll try to find a particular sequence, or a particular gene, I mean. So in the SNP 130 table, so we just use this have and specify the gene. So gene is actually RS4826 something. So the result will be
is nothing but the single nucleotide polymorphisms, which we are telling, the SNPs. So we have many SNPs in our body, hence the table names are with the name of the SNPs. So it is SNP 130. Otherwise, it
a result set, and what it is often needed out of this is location of the gene. So where was this gene located, the RS482 that we specified. So the results comes out to be that we can check it with result.crom. So it gives out that this particular gene was located in chromosome X of that particular database. So this is how we do with BioRuby. Yeah, so there were plenty of chromosomes, but the chromosome X had that particular gene.
okay. So the next thing, next upcoming thing, which is BioRuby also working with, is the next generation sequencing. So the name confirms, right? So how sequencing is done nowadays is the same as the Sanger method, which we used to do earlier. The principle is same, but the way it is performed here nowadays is pretty faster. So we can sequence the entire genome at around 8 days now. So 3 billions of base pairs can be sequenced. So we need to give the DNA samples collected from the saliva or from a blood, just a drop will do. We put it in a microarray. Microarrays are small pellets, similar to a chip in a computer. And then we put it in such a high sequencer. So it is an image of a Illumina HiSeq 2000 model of a next generation sequencer. We put it, and after 8 days, it gives out the result that how these DNA bases are arranged in that person. So it is pretty fast. It is a high throughput analysis. It is massively having a parallel sequencing going on at present. So what BioRuby is doing is it has come up with a gem like BioNGS, next generation sequencing gem, which fetches the data from these next generation sequencers in the different file formats and then give us the result. And we can manipulate or we can play out with the result. Okay. So how can we contribute to the BioRuby? So we can publish more biogems, or we can add to the biogems which are present. We can add more features to it. We can connect to other biological databases. We can come up with other analysis which are presently done in manually or supported by other bio projects, and then we can incorporate it in BioRuby. So they have a beautiful bunch of people whom you can just mail it and they will reply regarding whatever your queries is. You can just clone the repository from this GitHub and add to it. You can add your biogem, just submit it. They will review, and if it is a good amount of submission, they'll incorporate in the BioRuby core library. Otherwise, it will be a gem, and it is pretty active members. So we have this BioRuby team who are the active members from Japan and other parts of the world. And these are the communities, open source communities, which actively participate and spread the word of BioRuby. The Open Bioinformatics Foundation, Database Center for Life Sciences, Google Summer of Code have also had a hackathon regarding the BioRuby, and the National Evolutionary Synthesis Center. So together, they all are working to make BioRuby a prominent project. Okay. So last but not the least, we came to know about gene. So how Usain Bolt or Michael Phelps are bestowed about this. ACT-N3 is the name of the gene, the sport gene, which is present in all the world-class athletes. And that makes them the world-class athletes. But not only that thing. We need the hard work and sheer dedication. Without that, only a gene cannot make the person who it is. So a gene cannot stop me what I dream of. It should not stop us. We can go beyond the gene, and the gene will make the change. It will make the change depending upon the environment, the mutation will change, and we can live our dream. So gene is not our destiny. We should take the lesson from Kung Fu Panda. Okay, Manu, we forgot something?
Okay, so this is where we come from. I am Manu Singhal.
I'm Doel Singh Gupta. I come from India.
Are you guys in the bioinformatics field?
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.